Hey everybody, Professor Steins here. Today I'm going to kind of mess around with the menu a little bit, and what I got to get us started is a nested list that goes kind of three levels down. So there's kind of a main list, a sub list inside of that, and then this guy has a sub list inside of that. And so this is kind of how it's coded. There's a nav section, a UL tag, and then LI tags. This is the one that kind of has all the other structures inside of it. So there's the other UL tags, kind of see where those open and close. So what I want to do is I kind of want to write this menu to kind of be a horizontal menu. Maybe stack it up. So I hover on something and maybe a list comes down under it or something like that. So there's really a lot of ways to do it. I'm just going to kind of tinker around and kind of show maybe some ways that I might do it. So first thing I want to do is I kind of want to look through the nav section. So this descendant operator in CSS is kind of fairly new to be cross-browser supported, but it pretty well works cross-browser now. And essentially what these greater than signs in CSS are saying are direct descendant walkers. So if I start at the nav section, then I'm talking about the UL tag that's directly inside of it, and then the LI tags that are directly inside of that. So that's kind of how that rule would work. So, but instead, I'm going to kind of write the same rule before I actually write something in that rule. I'm going to write a second rule to kind of look for the UL tags that are directly underneath that one. So if I'm going from nav to the first UL to each LI to the UL inside of those, and I'm just going to put display none for right now. So hopefully what this one rule will do is just enough to kind of get us back to the original list where we only have the first level showing. And that's kind of what these LIs are. So again, I really kind of like how these rules work. So I could turn the list style type, list style type, none, to the UL tags themselves. Maybe change the LIs to be display inline block instead. And to be honest, let's just turn all the margin and padding for all the containers inside the nav section kind of back to a default of 0. Let's see where these few rules get us, which is kind of nice. Kind of can inspect the element and see not a lot of margin, not a lot of padding going on. Really just kind of it's really looks like it's the border bottom of this H1 that kind of pushes it down a little bit. So different rule entirely. Margin top 0. Just turn that to margin 0. Yep, something's going to break. Let's see, let's throw some other kind of global rules in here to kind of help just style stuff up a little bit. And that's going to be maybe to turn the A tags. Let's turn the text decoration to none. That'll kind of take the underline off the A tags. And let's also give them display block. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to explain quite why I'm adding that one rule to it right now. But let's see, a background color of I'll just turn the color to white for right now. And the nav background's color is going to be kind of a purple. Looks like the Google Fonts is kind of wanting to take its time there. I just take that out. Not really needed. Alright, back to CSS. So we color of white, but then when these guys get hovered, background color of white, and then turn the color opposite to back to our purple. 632393. Oop. That's my pound sign. Alright, a little bit better. We could add some other styles in there too. Font weight, bold. The main reason why I have display block in there though is so that I can still kind of affect the rules for these guys. So this is the first order rule, the first LI, the first UL, the first LI is inside of it. And this is kind of where I want to add padding and margin. So maybe 3 picks on the top and bottom, and 5 picks to the left and right. And maybe hopefully space them a little bit. Or rather, I think I want the rule there. Technically, I'd only want them. I would only want them on the first one, I think. Woo. Basically, I want the padding on the A tags, and that's why they're display block. This way they do kind of run up together. They almost look like pills between each other. If I were to kind of keep adding some space in here, kind of spread them out a little bit more. See how the white kind of goes from block to block? If the A tag didn't have this display block here, that would not occur. See, there's a little bit of gap in between the two. It doesn't quite look like the same it was before. It just depends on what your preference is. Really, I might just want to add this guy to these first level A tags. Oops, I actually deleted there. Because I'm not really sure what the other tags are going to look like. Now, this is the one that's kind of got all the sublists underneath it. So if I were to I need to write a rule such that when I hover this guy, the list underneath it shows. So that would be these LI tags, nav UL, when the first level LI tag is hovered, then the UL tags underneath it are display block. So, not quite what we expected. Kind of pulls it up from the top. That's because of the display inline blocks there. So, probably maybe not use a display block, maybe kind of mess around with it a little bit. Inline block. Wait, that's not what we wanted. Not on this one. Wrong rule. This one, when things are hovered. Still kind of comes from the top. Could maybe just try inline. Still from the top. Let's try this then. Position relative. And position absolute. And I think we're going to turn this one back to block. That's a little bit better. What that does is it sets the LI above it to be relative. That means anything underneath it that's positioned absolute, this tag is underneath the LI tag. This element will be positioned absolutely relative. This is positioned absolute relative to this container. Absolutely positioned relative to that container. And so that's kind of how maybe that works. Yeah, still not quite what is going on here. Kind of see there's still some bullets underneath. And even that extra list where the bullet points change in there, um, kind of probably should mess with those a little bit too. So before we had display block for the A tag, I put it here. I'm actually going to move this back and have it apply to all the tags inside. And it's a little bit better, I think. At least you kind of see that at least the white part kind of goes to the end of the container. Still might want to kind of turn off all of those list style type tags. Here we had it. This rule is kind of saying all the UL directly under the nav, but maybe take that out. Now it's all the ULs in the nav section. And so none of them kind of have that anymore. And you might want to end up putting back another rule back in. The ULs as an LI, the UL with an LI, with the UL. That's probably good enough. And we'll turn padding 5 pixels, or padding left. Let's make it something noticeable. 20 pixels. Actually, I don't think I went down far enough. Let's see, the UL tag, directly under the U's inside of that, the LIs. Actually, I did not go far enough down. Need to at least go one more UL down. And this shows a little bit there. Kind of see that the width is still kind of based on the LI that's above it. It still could kind of, this would be this UL, maybe a min width. 200 pixels? I don't know. Makes it a little bit bigger. And you could still kind of do the same flyout thing for the submenu underneath if you really wanted to. So that would be really, we could take this descendant operator out, because that would be all of the UL tags underneath the LIs that are underneath those, right? So if we did that, kind of only get those 4. Now it was VivaMiss, I think, that had the extra stuff underneath it, which is cool. So let's look back at VivaMiss. That would be the nav, the ULs. Let's actually put it above this rule. Nav, UL, LI, UL, LI, hover, UL, display block. Let's just do the kind of the same we did up there. Absolute. And that means that this guy, I want to make sure we put position relative on it just to be careful. There is an element that's further up the chain that has position relative on it, but this guy won't be positioned relative to kind of this container, that UL. So let's take a look. You kind of see it did pop out there, but it's still kind of covering up what was there. So what we might end up needing to do is just move it over a little bit. This one has a min width of 200 pixels, and I think a left 200 pixels of its positioning. Kind of ought to make it a little bit more how people are used to seeing it. I need to move it up some too, I think. Negative 10 pixels. Or at least 0. Let's see what 0 gets us. I don't think I have my positions The UL tag would be there. Really, I want that LI tag to be the one that's relative, not this one. So I think I need to add another rule. Nav UL LI UL LI. And I might have this rule already. I don't think I do. Position relative. Alright, let's check that out. There we go. I might need to want to take that left back out. Or at least just make it a little smaller, maybe. It applies to that rule, but not the other one. Hold on. Dun, 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 dun. Could just say all the ULs here. That's kind of the ULs underneath the first. I already have a rule up there for that. Display none. I could give them padding there and see what happens. Maybe don't need that rule at all. Oh, I think I did. Well, you get the idea. You just kind of have to get in there, keep tinkering around with it a little bit, figure out how you want it. That's kind of the idea behind a drop-down menu, though, in pure CSS. This descendant operator didn't used to be very cross-browser supported, so you'd have to use a lot of JavaScript to do it, or some other different techniques. It works pretty well, too, if you want to use divs instead of just talking straight at the ULs like this. Sometimes it can be kind of hard to make your styles work exactly how you want them to work. So you can always kind of just add a div here, maybe submenu 1, or that's not really where we want it. Yeah, it is, actually. Let's see. It's just not indented, right? You could use some extra divs to kind of help you keep track of, you know, as you go down the nested structure a little bit differently from this. But this works pretty well cross-browser supported nowadays. Didn't used to work very well in IE8, 7, and stuff like that. But anyway, I hope that kind of solves the question. And if you have anything else, feel free to ask. Have a good one. Bye.